Some engineering projects are just so massive, so incredibly ambitious, they feel like they're straight out of science fiction. They don't just connect two places on a map, they totally redefine everything around them. So, okay, let's dive into one of the most monumental of them all.
Take a look at this. This is the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. It's like a giant steel dragon snaking its way across the Pearl River estuary in China. And wow, what a sight it is. It currently holds the world record for the longest sea crossing that's a combination of both a bridge and a tunnel.
And look, that's not just some fancy marketing slogan. That's actually how engineers talk about this project. To them, it's their Mount Everest, a challenge so epic it demanded completely new, groundbreaking solutions. And that's exactly what we're here to deconstruct.
To really get your head around the scale of this thing, we've got to look at the raw numbers. And trust me, these numbers are, well, they're just staggering.
Okay, first up, the sheer length. We're talking 55 kilometers. That's more than 34 miles of highway linking three of the most dynamic cities in all of Asia. So this isn't just a bridge, it's a full-on mega connector.
But, this is where it gets really wild. Almost 7 kilometers of this crossing isn't a bridge at all. Nope. It's an undersea tunnel, one of the longest and deepest of its kind ever built.
And here's the kicker. The whole thing was designed to last 120 years. I mean, think about that. It's one thing to build something this huge, but to make it last for over a century in the middle of a harsh, salty ocean, that's just a whole other level of engineering. It forced them to solve problems that seemed flat out impossible at first.
So yeah, that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? The big puzzle at the heart of this whole project. With all that bridge, why in the world would you go through the incredible expense and difficulty of building a tunnel right smack in the middle of it?
It just seems totally backward, doesn't it? You're already building one of the world's greatest bridges. Why on earth would you decide to just dunk a huge chunk of it 44 meters below the sea? Well, the answer isn't about what they were building, but where they were building it.
See, the Pearl River estuary is, well, it's a beast. This structure had to be an absolute tank, tough enough to handle super typhoons and major earthquakes. But really, the biggest headache wasn't even Mother Nature. It was logistics. This channel is one of the busiest shipping lanes on the entire planet. Building a bridge tall enough for the world's biggest container ships to sail under would have been ridiculously high and way too vulnerable. So if you can't go over, you got to go under.
So what do? Well, the solution they came up with was it was brilliant and maybe a little bit crazy. It's called an immersed tunnel. Basically, instead of trying to drill through the seabed, they decided to just build the highway directly on the seabed itself.
And honestly, that quote nails it. It really does sound like something straight out of a movie. You're just driving along in your car, and there are millions of tons of seawater just feet above your head, inside a structure that was pieced together with incredible precision at the bottom of the ocean. It's an absolutely mind-bending feat.
So how in the world do you even do that? Well, think of it like building with giant underwater Lego bricks. First, these enormous hollow tunnel sections are built on land. Then you seal them up, float them out to sea, and carefully, painstakingly, sink them into a trench that you've already dug on the ocean floor. Finally, divers and specialized machines connect them all together, one by one, to create a perfect watertight tube. It sounds almost simple, right? But in reality, oh man, the complexity is just off the charts.
Right, so you can probably guess that a structure this insane, meant to last 120 years, can't be built with just, regular off-the-shelf stuff. No way. It demanded innovation at every single level, from the enormous man-made islands that hold it in place, right down to the very atoms holding it all together.
Let's start with the big picture. To connect the bridge parts to the tunnel, engineers literally built 2 brand new islands out in the middle of the open sea. These things are massive, and they act as these incredible portals where the road just smoothly disappears beneath the waves.
Okay, now let's zoom way in, down to the materials themselves. The secret sauce here is something called a steel concrete steel composite, or SCS. It's basically a structural sandwich. You take a core of super strong concrete and encase it between 2 heavy-duty steel plates. This combo gives you something with incredible strength and durability, totally perfect for resisting the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. And the level of detail they went into here is just mind-blowing. To guarantee that 120-year lifespan, they ran all these complex computer simulations on the SCS material. They were modeling what would happen if tiny, microscopic imperfections, like a little bubble of air, got trapped inside during construction.
They had to know for sure that a tiny flaw wouldn't cause a catastrophic failure 100 years down the line. I mean, wow.
But this brings up a really important question, one you hear a lot with these giant, fast-paced projects. When you're building something at record-breaking speed, how do you possibly balance that rush with the kind of meticulous quality control you need for something to last 120 years? Well, the answer really lies in why they built the bridge in the first place.
Because see, this whole thing wasn't just some vanity project to break a bunch of world records. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge had a very specific and frankly a very transformative purpose.
Okay, here's the payoff. This is the why behind it all, boiled down to two numbers. The time it took to get people and goods from Zhuhai to Hong Kong got slashed from over 3 hours down to about 45 minutes. That's not just an improvement, that is a total game changer for business, for travel, for everything.
And that is why this whole thing is so much more than just a bridge. It's the physical and economic backbone of what's called the Greater Bay Area. It's a huge strategic plan to weave together this massive economic region of almost 70 million people. The idea is to connect Hong Kong's financial power with Guangdong's manufacturing muscle and Macau's entertainment scene, creating one giant integrated powerhouse that can go toe-to-toe with places like Silicon Valley or Tokyo.
And all of this really leaves us with one big final thought to chew on. Projects like this are an amazing testament to what we can achieve. But as we keep pushing the limits in this global race to build bigger, faster, and longer, it makes you ask a pretty important question. What are the trade-offs we as a society are willing to make? What's the real cost, environmentally and socially, of all this ambition? Definitely something to think about.